Hello and welcome to a special edition of Underground. Today we discuss social media censorship, who to censor social media platforms, to what extent and based on what. We welcome Dr. Suhad Sahel, a university professor at the School of Journalism at the Lebanese University in Beirut, and Mr. Imad Bazzi, a cyber advocacy specialist, joining us via Skype from Tunisia. Welcome both of you. Before we start, we will take a look at this short report about censorship.
A very special presentation prepared by Alexander Beauregard about social media censorship. First of all, many people wonder, what is censorship? Censorship is the suppression of speech or other public communication which may be considered objectionable, harmful, sensitive, or inconvenient as determined by a government, media outlet, or other controlling body. Now we move to corporate censorship to give you some facts about it. 54% of companies block social media. 39% of younger workers won't work for a company that blocks Facebook. 25% of workers rely heavily on social media in the workspace. 19% of companies only permit social media for business purposes. 16% allow limited personal use. Only 10% allow full use. And finally, 8% of companies have fired staff members over social media misuse. Now we will give you two examples of corporate censorship. Use of social media in the workplace is a hindrance to productivity. Employees must address that their opinions are their own and not the company's. Now while activists disagree among each other about censorship, we will present the pros and cons. For pros, it is important to secure vital business information and gain maximum employee attention. On the other hand, censorship might lower workplace morale and create communication difficulties. On the governmental level, some facts to be addressed. Facebook, Twitter, and Foursquare are the most censored social media websites in several states. For example, the Egyptian government shut down public internet access to prevent mass riots during the revolution 2 years ago. Government censorship also has pros and cons. Governments might claim that censorship brings stability, fights pornography, prevents propaganda and violence, prevents the spread of racism and rumors, and finally promotes political correctness. The cons. Censorship limits freedom of speech and might be used to block legitimate criticism, and therefore used to control people and prevent creativity.
We're starting with you, Dr. Kahail. First, is social media out of control?
Social media has always been controlled, but it depends on who has the hand over it. Is it under control of the government or the audience? I think social media has been so far expressing or mirroring the society, mirroring what we have out there, whether in a distorted way, but it's present, it's still in there, it's still within our society. Social media is now a very important part towards how we conduct our daily social activities, to the extent that one of the USA Today's newspapers titled one of its articles very recently, 2 days ago, is that which app do you open when you wake up first in the morning? And the answer came out to be like the top 10. One of them was Facebook and Twitter and other applications that are very heavily involved towards social media. This gives us very much input towards where social media is.
Okay. Let's go to you, Mr. Imad Bazzi. As a cyber advocacy specialist, do you think that social media is on control or out of control?
Social media is a platform where people can usually express what are their daily living activities and what are they doing. Now, the idea of cyber advocacy like came late after social media platforms were widespread. People started using social media platforms for advocacy because it's a space for them to express themselves. They had traditional media was controlled by government, by political parties, by groups, by whatever. So they found their space in social media. It's not out of control because it's a place where people express themselves, express their ideas. They're free without any repression. Amidst the government continuing to crack down on liberty.
So you think is social media now a free platform? This is what it was created for, but is it being a free platform?
It is a free platform where everyone can express their own ideas. It's not out of control because people are still expressing their ideas over and over. Now, I do understand that there is a lot of people who are abusing this space for freedom. They are using it for defaming or like for governmental propaganda. But the idea is that social media is a free space for everyone to contribute and tell the world what they're doing. And even they can tell the world about the causes they believe in. They can raise awareness of people and activists and citizens.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Kahil, what are the limitations of freedom of speech on social media platforms?
What country you're at, for instance, or what even the contextual and the time to which this control is being subjected, being applied. First of all, you can notice that in the U.S. During the Patriotic Act, there has been so much control. Even control, like now with the recent Boston bombings, has come up to be towards SMS messages, and they were able to go through the suspects' messages, and even they would know the answers of his friends who were caught up. Again, in Europe, there's more control towards social media, and you can notice that the government interferes directly. In the U.S., they're still having this problem towards, like how much does it obscure the Constitution and the freedom of speech, and to what is really, freedom of speech. But this all can go under control when there is a threat, and the U.S. has been going through a threat for the past decade almost, and so you can mainly witness two ways of control: direct and indirect, and Europe is more towards direct control.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Imad Bazzi, what about the activists that have been silenced for the content they posted online? What's your take on this? Worldwide, this is happening worldwide.
Yes, I do understand, and it's happening mainly. Most cases are happening in the Middle East and North Africa, and I've been subject to similar incidents. I've been blogging since 1998. I'm one of the first people who went online, but this is why I went online, because I was suffering from this repression, from governmental repression. Activists are being silenced online by governments, either by hacking their accounts or by blocking their blogs and pages on social media platforms. You can see you have so many cases in so many countries. The recent revolution, what started in Bahrain, and you have this kind of repression in Saudi Arabia. And actually you have it everywhere in the Middle East. Even we have it in Lebanon. So many cases we saw that some activists had their accounts hacked, and we do have evidence, for example, that the Lebanese presidency once hacked an account of a Lebanese cyber activist. So the problem with governmental repression is that they don't really want people to express themselves. They don't want people who are community mobilizers to talk to the citizens, to tell them what causes they are facing, what is happening in their society. They don't want us to.
Okay. Okay, Dr. Kahil, do you think that it is possible to speak about a complete censorship on social media, even though that there is a sponsorship, as you mentioned earlier, but can complete censorship be done?
No. never, because the media, the social media from the start, has been from the people, for the people. And if you notice now, even journalism
It's
has
citizen
come.
journalism.
Yes, even journalism has joined this ship, okay? And even like yesterday I posted on Facebook a comment, you know, with Christiana Amanpour having, covering a story about mustaches in the Middle East and their significance. And if you notice, what I read beyond the story were the comments, you know, that the people through social media were posting on the story. So the story was now complementary with the comments, with what people are talking about within social media. We have new development towards how news is being covered due to social media. So no, I don't think it can ever be controlled.
Okay. Mr. Imad Bazdi, technically speaking, can social media be completely controlled? I mean, can like Facebook or Twitter check each and every single comment or word in each and every single comment?
Technically, it's possible for the governments using their control over ISPs to check what activists are doing. But this is why activists have their own tools. They have proxies and other programs that can protect them. They use IP routing, they use location routing, and they change their locations and secure their identities online. Most of the activists actually, for example, in Syria and Bahrain, are using fake names because the governments can track and can go and check what they are doing. This is why we train activists on how to secure their online presence, how to make the best use of the privacy settings on social media platforms. Governments do have entities, and they do have teams that go and check and see what people are writing, and they respond based on that. We have seen so many cases where activists were arrested because of either tweets or blog posts or whatever they posted on Facebook. So governments do take a look. They try to censor what is being said online, and they do have the technical ability to track people and track their locations based on what they're saying online.
Okay. Dr. Kahel, do you think that this censorship or this form of regulations by the government is hindering activists from saying what they want or would like to say via social media platforms?
Of course, I'm sure that many censorships from the government is kind of keeping the word in rather than letting it come out and hearing to what the people have to say. But if you can notice that the new evolution or revolution that brought in, that was brought through social media is being joined, that it's merging with the politicians, with the government, with the politics, and governments are joining that social media ship. And most of the governments in the US now, have their own web pages or Facebook pages or Twitter accounts. And you can notice in Europe that the Pope talks to his audience or through Twitter, he tweets his comments.
Mr. Imad Bazdi, as an activist yourself or like one of the main bloggers in the Middle East here, are you afraid to write whatever you want on social media?
To be honest, sometimes I do have some small cases. I've been through some small cases of self-censorship, but actually I know that this is my place, this is my play field, this is where I'm strong and I can deliver the message. This is why I make use of my freedom to post whatever I want online. I do know the consequences behind all this, but I usually don't like to do this self-censorship. I post and I do defy governments and I get my message delivered.
Okay, Dr. Kahel and Mr. Bazdi, we will talk about the parties involved in social media censorship after this short break. Stay tuned.
Pollution and climate change, medicine manipulation, genetically modified food, the destruction of wildlife, and corporate exploitation. These are all part of the new terrorism threatening our future.
Eco-terrorism, global awakening to a world under threat.
Welcome back. Joining the discussion here in the studio is Mr. Ali Fakhri, a communication expert at Al-Etejah. Welcome. Now take a look at this video by Google of global voices demanding free and open web.
It is ours and it is free.
A free and open world depends on a free and open web.
And a free and open web depends on me.
Es nuestra y es libre.
自由で開放的な世界は自由で開放的なウェブにある。And a free and open web depends on me.
It is ours. It is free.
Bebas dimanfaatkan. Dunia yang terbuka dan bebas bergantung pada web yang terbuka dan bebas.
After 一个自由与开放的世界，我依靠在一个自由与开放的网络。
Depends on the free and open web. And the free and open web depends on me.
Es nuestra y es libre.
A free and open world depends on a free and open web.
È un web libero aperto dipende da me. Il est nostro e
A free and an open world depends on a free and an open web.
And a free and open web depends on me.
Mr. Fakhri, as we've seen, some people said freedom of the world depends on freedom of the web. What's your take?
Of course, the freedom of the word depends on the freedom of the web, but let's face it, as a communication, as an activist and working in the communication, we know that not all the actions are on the website and are in the virtual world. If we are speaking about censorship on social media, censorship on internet, it's not smart to speak about it because nothing can be totally censored. Activists, online cyber activists has created ways to bypass censorship, either by using a total blackout of internet and total blackout of connection in the country, which is economically not possible. And if the government takes this action, desperate this action, like the Egyptian government took this action, we also know that way before internet was here, people and activists were on the streets by using SMS, maybe by using flyers, by using
even
graffiti
people are
on the
taking
walls.
the streets to say what they want. They're creating graffitis, they holding posters, and yes.
This is what I'm trying to say. That speaking about censorship, when you have to speak about censorship, you have to speak about censorship in all its forms. The web censorship is one component of the censorship, and even if it was censored, it's not that big. We were not saying
but usually
it
people,
won't stop the work.
because of the internet or the web, people tend to say what they don't say face to face because they're hiding behind that screen, which allows them to say openly and freely what they wouldn't say maybe in the street or holding a poster or writing somebody somewhere else, right?
But also speaking about censoring something, we always tend to say that censoring Facebook and censoring Twitter will do the problem. You have people in Russia who do not use Facebook. You have people in China who do not use Facebook or do not use Twitter. You have other and hundreds of platforms for people to communicate. Of course, we are totally against censorship online, but we are saying what we are trying to say, that the total censorship is not possible, and any governments who tends, and this is a message to all the governments, who tends to try to censor any information or censor any activist online, activists will always find a solution or a way to bypass the censorship. Either it's by use.
Talking about the three parties that are involved on social media, which are, one of them is the government, the others are the users themselves and the companies. So which side do you think should take the step in censoring what's going online? Because we cannot deny the fact that there are some things that goes on the web which are inappropriate, shouldn't be there.
Censorship is bad in all its ways. We believe in open free web, we believe in open the freedom of speech in all its form. If someone is making a hatred speech, what we can do is answering back this hatred speech. We are demanding government to stop the censorship. We do not accept government to censor anything because government works on politics and ideologies, and they might try to censor anything which is against them. Companies are the government these days. Let's try to put things, the dots on the i's. For example, let me give you I read 2 days ago that Facebook has banned anti-Obama memes online because someone of the administrator didn't like the meme, and this is by Bloomberg that they report about it. They just deleted the meme. Yeah. Governments can censor, companies
what about
can
the censor that users do themselves?
Look, to continue on this, it's the responsibility of the users to be responsible enough not to spread hatred message, not to abuse their freedom of expression.
But also at the same time they are being censored because they criticize governments. This is the thing that widely spread on social media rather than racist speech or other speech which is censored.
Government are censoring people for their political opinions, and maybe sometimes they are arresting them and trying to beat them. And an example of this, Ahmed Bazi, your guest, who has been harassed all over the country for his activism online. It's a reality that exists. You have even governments who exist online to spy people and to try to report them and to report that they are spamming.
Okay, as a communication expert, what do you think of some elite group among the users themselves, internet users themselves, that would do this censorship?
They can preach, but not do censorship. Censorship is bad in all its forms. We cannot. Maybe they can preach. Maybe they can say that this is bad and this is not bad. But censoring them by themselves and reporting to censor, it's a tactic that can be done, but not to be used.
Mr. Ali Fakhri, a communication expert at NDAC, thank you for joining us on Underground today. Now we still have our Ahmed Bazi and Dr. Kahel joining us for more on our show. Dr. Kahel, freedom of the world depends on freedom of the web. What's your take?
Of course, you know, like freedom has always been attached towards speech, and speech takes many forms, symbolized now through social media. But above all, we have to really consider that when academically we are producing people who are talking to the masses, and this is what social media is doing, we try to make it very comprehensive, that they would know that there is a social responsibility towards freedom. For instance, one of the things that I would ask my students is that I would tell them, what kind of theory does the US apply? And most of them would think that it's the libertarian theory. Meanwhile, libertarian theory is, you know, or develops when there is no government, okay, and there's no control over the public. Meanwhile, the US tries to abide towards what we call social responsibility theory, and within social responsibility theory we have many layers, filters, that the news or the comments or whatever kind of info or symbol we're trying to, or meme we're trying to talk about, goes through these filters. One of them is the own ethical ground of the person. The second is what we call the guidelines of the corporation or the institution they're working in. And the third is the governmental, which is the FTC or the FCC or any kind of committee that would watch over the media. And of course, we have the country's rules, and the lastly, which is the audience, themselves,
Okay. So. Mr. Ahmed Bazi, your friend, Mr. Fakhri, actually said that censorship is bad. What do you say?
No, any kind of like repression or censorship on any kind of on any idea is bad, whether it's online or offline. Censoring media and
But what about the
censoring
social responsibility that the doctor just mentioned?
Yes, I do understand the potential, the responsibility part, but let's face it, people are there on social networks so they can express whatever they want.
Doctor, we're gonna ask you: isn't censorship giving governments what they want in terms of silencing opponent voices?
Well, this depends on the type of government you're talking about. Is it an authoritarian government, or is it the government, a democratic government from the people to the people, and it's supposedly to watch over the people? Censorship, yes, it will, you know, and you have to look at it contextually. Where is this government? You know, like what's going on in the Middle East? And censoring like blogs or social media right now would be, yes, giving the government whatever it wants at some point and not allowing for a great segment of the audience to express what they have. Okay, so you have to look what the situation is, what the context is, and how this government has been formed, to answer your question.
Doctor, do you think that social media platforms, by hiding comments, can make a difference in how people would express themselves? They always have other ways, and they always go around it, as our guest mentioned here. So where's the problem here? Is the problem of social media relies on social media itself, or it's the problem of the users and how they use social media?
Well, it's a dual problem. It's a sword with double edge right here. And people, yes, as you said and mentioned, you know, have been finding ways to express themselves all over the history, starting from walls to screaming to, you know, like we've found our ways, you know. And up so far, it is a dual thing that we need to watch out for. We need to set a goal towards having what type of society we want to get to, where do we want to reach the society, and how we can evolve the people towards that society. We have to think in a collective manner here, collective as in a state of, you know, this kind of people, this nation, where it needs to be, how it's going to evaluate the situations and, you know, kind of maneuver towards what it wants out of a
Dr.
collective
Kahel,
life.
how do you see a free social media society versus a censored social media society?
I think at some point everything would start out chaotically, and this is, you know, a very known theory out there, that things might start in a chaotic manner and it's without any control, but gradually, just the way it happened with the broadcast media, gradually, you know, things will come to be organized and would take a certain type of order. This happened with print media, it happened with broadcast media, radio and television, and now it's happening with electronic media.
My last question for you is, in the information age, what effect has censorship on freedom of speech?
I'm sure that censorship would hinder freedom of speech, you know, and they might come in an opposing manner at some point. But I'm sure as well, if the audience is socially responsible, there would be nothing to fear, whether from the government or from the audience.
Dr. Kahel, you are a professor at the Lebanese University of Journalism. Thank you for joining us on Underground today. Mr. Imad Bazzi, we had some technical difficulty. Thank you. You are a cyber advocacy specialist, for joining us on Underground today. To you viewers, many thanks for watching. This is all we had. Bye-bye.